Steel Assault is a high-adrenaline side-scroller action platformer from Zenovia Interactive. It's also one of the shortest games I've ever played. So the question is, can the saying "the best things come in small packages" apply to video games as well? Let's take a look. This is the first edition of Reviews from the Void. The first thing that anyone who played this will tell you is that this is a mix of Contra and Castlevania. In fact, this entire experience is purposefully nostalgic inclined. But so what, right? So many games are doing that nowadays that this could even be seen as a negative. But that's not the case with Steel Assault, and it all comes down to how they mix the two inspirations together. This game's structure is heavily inspired in Contra games. The stages are somewhat short but packed full of enemies and hazards of all sorts, culminating with an epic boss fight. It's all very fast-paced, full of action and explosions. But different from any Contra game, you don't have a gun. Instead, they decided to twist the formula real nice with the other inspiration, Castlevania. More specifically, Super Castlevania 4. Your guy has a whip-type weapon that can be used in 8 directions, including down. It's actually really amazing how well these two things go together. Another highlight is the grappling hook, which you can also use in any of the 8 cardinal directions. This is a pretty cool feature of Steel Assault. You can grapple to most walls and floors and create a rope line to hang on to. And the game will force you to use this in many different and clever ways. Let me tell you, they tuned the gameplay in Steel Assault really carefully to make this mix of Contra, Castlevania and grappling hook feel seamless and fantastic to play. It's one of those where you play it and you're like, how didn't anybody do this before? We are truly talking about some great gameplay here. That was a quick overview of Steel Assault, but let's go into more detail and let's do that while we score this game. I'll be using a different style of scoring, dividing it in 4 categories in a way I don't think I've ever seen out there, so let me know what you think of this down in the comments. Graphics and sound. Steel Assault certainly stands out in its presentation. The pixel art is incredibly detailed and so are its animations. Additionally, the multiple options of filters provided in the menu are nice features, and whether you opt for a sharp or a nostalgic filter, this game looks great. So in terms of pixel art, this gets a close to perfect score. Meanwhile, in the music department, we are talking about some of the best music in games to have come out in 2021. Most tracks fall into the hard rock category, which goes really well with the gameplay, but my favorite has to be the title song, which gives me some serious Streets of Rage vibes. And that's a hell of a compliment for any soundtrack. Just listen to this. The sound effects are also very good, providing that gratification feeling of hitting the enemies and getting power-ups and such, so I really don't have any complaints about the sound. So in the graphics and music department, Steel Assault gets a 1.9 out of 2. Control and challenge. Yet another aspect in which this game shines is in the controls. Your whip has a nice range that makes you feel powerful but not overpowered, while the grappling hook has a welcome tolerance for error. You don't have to be precise when trying to grapple from walls or ceilings. It will automatically adjust to the closest surface when you miss the mark by a little. So if you fall to your death, it's either because you didn't even press the grapple button or you were really slow in doing so. The entire hit detection in this game is actually really great. Going back to the whip, not only will it serve to hit enemies, but also to kill most projectiles. This is clever since without a gun, you are at a natural disadvantage. However, some more dangerous enemies will have unkillable projectiles. You'll have to manually dodge those, and it helps to use the dash mechanic by hitting down and jump, which is a little bit trickier to learn. The only downside of this entire control scheme is that down jump doesn't make you jump down to the platform below, which is very unintuitive because we're talking about a Contra style game here, but you get used to it. In terms of difficulty, the normal mode will be the nicest amount of challenge if you're just looking to see the game through without too much pain, as it has plenty of checkpoints to use. In expert mode, you take twice as much damage from each hit, and there are far less checkpoints. Each time you die, you go back to the beginning of that chapter. And then there's arcade mode, which is just one life. You die, you go back to the beginning. This one went a bit over my threshold of self-induced pain, but both expert and arcade modes will provide hardcore players a great amount of challenge, which is nice since this game is so short but so sweet that any excuse to keep playing feels welcome. I couldn't find any meaningful things to complain about in the control and challenge department, outside of some nitpicky things like the down jump functionality. So Steel Assault gets a 2 out of 2 in this one. Bang for buck. This category is real simple, it's just how much enjoyment is there to be had compared to how much they charge for the game. Of course, the price of games nowadays is variable between regions and also due to discounts and promotions. So to normalize this, I'll be always considering the full undiscounted price as of the making of the review on North America, and will always consider all platform options. For instance, Steel Assault is available on Switch and Steam for $14.99. Here is where the game falters a lot. This is a really high price for the amount of gameplay in Steel Assault. If you're interested in just the normal mode campaign, this game can last a bit less than 1 hour. 1 measly hour. It's just 5 chapters, 10 minutes or so each, and that's it. The better value will come for players who like a good challenge. Expert mode will really test your skills while also being very engaging with the chapter checkpoints. And this is where I found most of my money's worth. The reward for beating it sucks though. It's just another lame border art color. Meanwhile, arcade mode will provide even more of a challenge, having 0 checkpoints. Beat it in 1 life, good luck. If you're really into this game, this can be the ultimate fulfillment challenge. But even though what's in Steel Assault is great, just having multiple difficulties to play the same levels again is not gonna cut it. So in this category, Steel Assault gets a 0.4 out of 2. The sauce. You see this section here? This is the sauce, okay? This here is the main aspect of any game and therefore the main point of the review. The sauce is what the game has that tickles our collective fancies, that floats our boats. It's that special thing, that jam that binds all other aspects of the game together and gives it a new taste that can be much more than the simple sum of their parts. So to reflect its importance on the game's review score, this category here will be worth 4 points for a total of 10 for the entire score. The sauce is the reason why one should or should not consider playing this game. In the case in point, even though it's a remarkably short game, Steel Assault has a lot of sauce. The way in which it integrates melee combat with a whip into a Contra style gameplay is just sublime. It's at the same time a remarkably simple game and strikingly engrossing in how it demands your attention, coordination, and fast decision making. That's because of the great level design in this game. In true Contra fashion, it keeps placing you at unexpected and exciting situations that force you to think differently and use your abilities to their full potential. And adding that to the great pixel art and the high gear soundtrack, we got a winner here. Considering that the team of developers behind it is very small, I am all in favor of the choice they made for quality over quantity. I'd much rather have this short but awesome game than a longer but less polished one. So Steel Assault gets a 3.7 out of 4 on sauce material. And with that, the final score is 8 out of 10. Not too shabby at all. Given that the ending hints to a continuation, I think the developers have the intention to make a sequel, and I'm certainly rooting for that, because the only true downside of this game is the length, nothing else really. So there you have it. If you'd like to see more reviews and other game coverage, put some sauce in that like and subscribe button, so the channel can grow and become sustainable. In any case, I hope this was helpful or entertaining to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.